You judge before you cross the road. You clock the speed of the approaching hatchback. You note the driver looking at his phone, and you make a split-second decision. You step or you don't. And nobody has ever called you a bigot for refusing to walk in front of a bus. To judge is simply to tell one thing from another and act on the difference. It is the survival mechanism that allowed our ancestors to tell the safe gap from the fatal one. We are the children of relentless judges, creatures who sized up the berry, the stranger, and the handshake, and were right often enough to breed. But we have built a modern civilization that treats judgment itself as the unforgivable act. "Who are you to judge?" has become the mantra of our age, elevating non-judgment, what we call tolerance, as the ultimate virtue. Yet this commitment to tolerance has produced a strange hypocrisy. We judge more feverishly and publicly than any culture in living memory, but the standard is no longer even. A belief system that stones women might escape any hard word, while a decade-old sentence can end a professional career. We are watching the survival reflex operating off its lead, with no fixed post to be tied to. This is judgment gone feral. By pretending we have outgrown the need to judge, we have blinded ourselves to the mechanics of our own morality. To understand why our instincts are misfiring, we have to look at where they were originally forged. The historian Tom Holland observes that we are fish, and Christianity is the water. We don't perceive the water because we are immersed in it, mistaking our deepest moral instincts for the neutral common sense of a modern species. But those instincts, that every human has infinite worth, or that the strong owe something to the weak, are not universal defaults. The Greeks and Romans were cruel on principle. To them, the weak existed to serve the strong, and pity was a vice, a failure of the soul to keep its distance from the low. Then came a claim so strange it took 3 centuries to sink in, that the slave and the master stood equal before God. Imago Dei. It meant every human being carried a dignity no executioner could remove, regardless of whether they earned it. This dignity was specifically bundled inside a structure. It came with the knowledge that the human heart is bent, and that your desires are not automatically good just because you feel them. There was a transcendent judge at the top of the ladder to whom the individual conscience was answerable. This structure acted as a guardrail. It disciplined the feral survival faculty. It told you, judge, but judge by this standard and not by your own appetite. Measure yourself before you measure your neighbor. The empathy we champion today was never designed to float freely. It was a specific output of a highly engineered moral machine. Modernity attempted a subtraction story. We assumed we could remove the superstition of the creed while keeping the humane core of the ethics intact. We wanted the fruit without the tree. But morality is not freestanding. You cannot pull the foundation out of a house and expect the upstairs to hang there in the air, admiring the view. This was Nietzsche's exact warning. When you give up the faith, you pull the right to the morality out from under your own feet. The mercy and the pity were never independent. They hung from the God. The psychological driver of this subtraction is as old as the story of Genesis. It is the desire to be like God, to define good and evil for yourself, rather than receive the standard. We are reaching for the pen to write the law ourselves. Secular modernity is not an escape from this ancient story. It is Genesis 3 run at a civilizational scale. We have taken the offer to define our own values, and we are only now starting to feel the floor give way. By destroying the framework of the transcendent judge, we also destroyed the framework of grace. Our unanchored judgment has turned the town square into a secular inquisition, where there is transgression and exile, but no road back. This creates what we might call a moral capital deficit. The liberal state lives by prerequisites it cannot itself guarantee. It needs citizens who will restrain themselves and sacrifice for strangers, but it has no way of manufacturing those virtues on its own. We are living off an inheritance without asking where it came from. We mistake the lingering momentum of Christian conduct for secular progress, even as we spend down the muscle and the manners we didn't earn. This deficit makes us physically vulnerable. Karl Popper argued that unlimited tolerance leads to the disappearance of tolerance. If a society refuses to defend itself against the movements sworn to abolish it, that society and its tolerance will be destroyed. Because we have redefined tolerance as the refusal to judge, we have lost the vocabulary to defend our own values. We find ourselves unable to object when ideologies that hold our way of life in contempt walk through our doors, because we've abolished the very guardrails that allowed us to say, "This is better than that." A warm intuition with no cold structure behind it cannot tell you when to stop. We have to decide whether to cross the road of history with our eyes open to an objective standard, or whether we close them, call the darkness tolerance, and step out into the path of a car that is not slowing down.